The book that proves meaning can survive even in hell. Man's Search for Meaning, originally published in some countries as Say Yes to Life or associated with Frankl's philosophy of saying yes to life despite suffering, Viktor E. Frankl. What would happen if everything that gave your life comfort, security, and identity was taken away? Most people believe they know themselves, but who would they become if they lost their home, their possessions, their freedom, and even their future? Viktor Frankl faced that question in the most brutal circumstances imaginable, and the answer he discovered became one of the most influential ideas of the 20th century. There are books that teach success, books that teach productivity, and books that teach happiness. Viktor Frankl's Man's Search for Meaning is different because it begins where most books end. It begins in a place where happiness seems impossible, success has become irrelevant, and survival itself is uncertain. Frankl was a psychiatrist, but before he became known for his ideas, he became a prisoner. During the Second World War, he was deported to Nazi concentration camps, where he endured years of suffering, starvation, humiliation, and loss. He watched people die around him. He lost family members. He lived under conditions that stripped human beings of nearly everything that made them feel human. Most people assume that extreme suffering reveals the worst side of humanity. Frankl witnessed that reality. He saw cruelty, selfishness, and brutality. Yet he also observed something unexpected. Even in the darkest conditions, some individuals managed to preserve their dignity, compassion, and inner freedom. This observation became the foundation of his life's work. The book begins by describing the psychological transformation that prisoners experienced after arriving at the camps. The first stage was shock. People entered a world so horrific that their minds struggled to process what was happening. The rules of ordinary life disappeared. The future became uncertain. Death was no longer a distant possibility but a daily presence. As time passed, many prisoners entered a second stage characterized by emotional numbness. This numbness was not weakness. It was a survival mechanism. When suffering becomes constant, the mind protects itself by reducing emotional sensitivity. People learn to function amid circumstances that would have seemed unimaginable before. Yet even within this environment, Frankl noticed a crucial difference between those who endured psychologically and those who lost hope. The difference was meaning. Some prisoners continued living because they believed there was something waiting for them beyond the camp. It might have been a loved one they hoped to see again. It might have been unfinished work. It might have been a responsibility they still felt obligated to fulfill. Whatever form it took, meaning provided a reason to continue despite overwhelming suffering. Frankl came to believe that human beings are not primarily motivated by pleasure, as some psychologists suggested, nor by power, as others argued. Instead, he believed that the deepest human drive is the search for meaning. This idea may sound simple, but its implications are profound. When people know why they are living, they can endure circumstances that would otherwise seem unbearable. Without meaning, even comfortable lives can feel empty and directionless. One of the most powerful moments in the book occurs when Frankl describes walking through the camp while exhausted, hungry, and physically broken. In the middle of this suffering, he began thinking about his wife. He did not know whether she was alive. He had no certainty that he would ever see her again. Yet the memory of love gave him strength. In that moment, he realized something that no prison guard could take away. Love exists beyond physical presence. The human capacity to find meaning through love remains intact even when everything else is lost. This realization became one of the central themes of the book. Human beings possess an inner dimension that external circumstances cannot fully control. While suffering can restrict physical freedom, it cannot completely determine how a person chooses to respond. Frankl repeatedly emphasizes what he considered the last human freedom, the ability to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances. This does not mean pretending that suffering is pleasant. It does not mean denying pain. It means recognizing that even when we cannot control what happens to us, we still retain some power over how we interpret and respond to it. The book becomes even more powerful because Frankl does not romanticize suffering. He never suggests that pain is inherently good or that people should seek it. Instead, he argues that when suffering is unavoidable, it can still contain meaning. A person facing illness can demonstrate courage. A person facing loss can demonstrate resilience. A person facing injustice can preserve dignity. Meaning transforms suffering from meaningless pain into a challenge that can be confronted. After the war ended, Frankl developed a therapeutic approach known as logotherapy, a method centered on helping people discover meaning in their lives. Unlike approaches that focus primarily on reducing discomfort, logotherapy asks a different question. Instead of asking what we expect from life, Frankl encourages us to ask what life expects from us. This shift changes everything. Many people spend years searching for happiness directly. They pursue success, pleasure, comfort, or recognition, believing these achievements will eventually create fulfillment. Yet fulfillment often remains elusive because happiness is not something that can be chased directly. According to Frankl, happiness emerges naturally when people dedicate themselves to meaningful goals, meaningful relationships, and meaningful responsibilities. The book also confronts a modern problem that has only become more relevant with time. Many people today are not suffering from extreme physical hardship. Instead, they experience a different kind of suffering, emptiness. They feel disconnected from purpose. They struggle to understand why their efforts matter. They achieve goals only to discover that achievement alone cannot satisfy them. Frankl believed that this existential vacuum is one of the greatest challenges of modern life. Material comfort cannot solve it. Entertainment cannot solve it. Only meaning can. As the narrative moves toward its conclusion, Frankl reflects on a truth that he learned through unimaginable hardship. Life never stops having meaning, even under the most painful circumstances. Meaning is not reserved for moments of success, joy, or comfort. It can be found in responsibility, love, sacrifice, courage, and endurance. The value of life does not disappear when life becomes difficult. In many cases, it becomes clearer. By the end of man's search for meaning, the reader is left with a perspective that is both sobering and deeply hopeful. Frankl does not promise an easy life. He does not promise protection from suffering. What he offers is something more powerful. He offers the belief that meaning can survive where comfort cannot. He offers the belief that purpose can survive where certainty cannot. And he offers the belief that no matter what happens to us, we retain the freedom to choose the person we become in response. The ultimate lesson of the book is not simply to endure suffering. It is to say yes to life in its entirety, including its struggles, its uncertainties, and its pain, because meaning is often found not despite those experiences, but through them. And once a person discovers a reason to live, even the darkest chapter of life can become part of a larger story worth continuing.